inflation rate slows for the 12th straight month, with January figures showing a 0.24% gain against those of December. Federal government meets manufacturers over 2,000 megawatts stranded electricity. Nigerian stocks continue to bleed as equities decline for a week. I am Muplang Dakok, and I'll be taking you through the day's business. Nigeria's annual inflation slowed for the 12th consecutive month, January, to 15.13%, compared with 15.37% recorded in December. Figures from the National Bureau of Statistics released Wednesday also shows that the food price index stood at 18.92% in January, compared with 19.42% in December. The percentage change in the average composite CPI for the 12-month period ending January 2018 over the average of the CPI for the previous 12-month period was 16.22%, showing a 0.28% point lower from 16.50% recorded in December 2017. On a month-on-month basis, the headline index increased by 0.8% in January, 0.21% points higher from the rate of 0.59% recorded in December 2017. The rise in the food index was caused by increases in the price of imported foods in general, as well as bread and cereals, milk, cheese, meat, potatoes, and other tubers. The Minister of Power, Works and Housing, Mr. Babatunde Fashola, has met with electricity customers and the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, MAN, on how additional 2,000 megawatts could be delivered to industries and households. Fashola, who addressed the stakeholders in Abuja, said the story of the manufacturing and producing sector has been characterized by lack of infrastructure, including power supply, and that rather than talking of solutions, people have harped on the problem. He said generation companies, GENCOs, now produced 7,000 megawatts, and the transmission company of Nigeria, TCN, was able to transport all of it and was expanding its capacity, and that the distribution companies, DISCOs, had also increased their load-taking capacity to 5,000 megawatts. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has called for the abolition of shell banks in the country, saying that they serve as institutions for money laundering. The CBN governor, Godwin Emefiele, made the request in Abuja at a public hearing organized by the House of Representatives Committee on Banking and Currency on a bill to amend the Banking and Other Financial Institutions Act and other bills. Mr. Emefiele, represented by the Director, Legal Services Department, Johnson Akinwumi, said the shell banks, apart from being used for money laundering, distort the banking system and might pose a problem to regulatory agencies. Shell banks are institutions that carry out activities where they are not licensed. Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA, has given a 24-hour ultimatum to officials of National Agency for Food, Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, Standard Organization of Nigeria, SON, among others, to vacate the seaports or risk being arrested. The directive is in line with a new order issued to NPA by the Presidential Enabling Environment Council, PEBEC. PEBEC has directed NPA to ensure strict compliance to the October 26, 2011 directive, as agencies permitted to operate in the ports are General Manager Corporate and Strategic Communications of the NPA, Abdullah Higoje, in a statement said the agencies allowed representation at the ports where Nigerian Ports Authority, NPA, Nigerian Customs Service, NCS, Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, NIMASA, Nigerian Police Department, Department of State Security, DSS, Nigerian Immigration Service, Port Health, and the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA. The statement added that it is in line with President Muhammadu Buhari's administration's desire to enhance the ease of doing business in the country and the improvement of conditions under which business is to be carried out in all ports across the country. Growing global demand for sesame seeds for hummus, toppings on sushi, health foods, and confectionery is boosting output in Nigeria and driving expansions in the third biggest producer. President of the National Sesame Seed Association of Nigeria, Sheriff Balogun, says production of sesame seed is expected to grow 40% in the 2017 to 2018 season. Current output ranges between 400,000 metric tons and 500,000 metric tons per season. Japan, with its such culture, other destinations include China as well as Europe and North America. Global oil prices are expected to peak 6 months from now, and the International Energy Agency, IEA, sees United States as a net exporter of crude. Let's take a report from Leah Katun Babatunde ahead of discussions on the implications for Nigeria as an OPEC member.
The Energy Agency IEA said on Tuesday that a rise in global oil production is likely to outpace growth in demand this year. The Paris-based IEA raised its forecast for oil demand growth in 2018 to 1.4 million barrels per day from a previous projection of 1.3 million barrels per day after the International Monetary Fund IMF upped its estimate of global economic growth for this year and next. In its monthly market report, the IEA said oil demand grew at a rate of 1.6 million barrels per day in 2017. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries, OPEC, along with other exporters such as Russia, have agreed to maintain a joint restriction on crude supply for a second year running in 2018 to force inventories to drain and support prices. The IEA estimates demand for OPEC's crude in 2018 will average 32.3 million barrels per day after dropping to 32 million in the first quarter of the year. Meanwhile, Goldman Sachs, a leading global investment banking, securities and investment management firm, has said that the oil market has rebalanced as Brent will reach $82.5 a barrel within 6 months. It sees the price of Brent reaching $75 per barrel within 3 months, lifting its short-term oil price projection from the previous $62 forecast. Goldman Sachs was more optimistic about the speed of the oil market rebalancing than many experts in other banks and OPEC itself. The investment bank expected that the global oil overhang would have cleared by the middle of 2018, accelerating OPEC's exit from the production cut pact that is currently set to expire at the end of 2018. Now, Goldman has revised further up its global oil demand growth forecast to reflect strong emerging market economies that will drive oil demand growth.
Joined by Yushua Aliu, an energy expert, to shed light on the implications of rising global oil prices to the Nigerian economy. Mr. Yushua, you're welcome to the program.
Good afternoon. Thank you.
Forecast points to one direction, that's upwards. What do you think is the implication for Nigeria?
No, you see, the market is dynamic, OPEC, traditionally. Since 1960, there has been a lot of politics, a lot of inducement. But for Nigeria, since it is a mono economy, as at present, it sounds well for the economy, but it depends on what we are going to use, the benefit we are getting out of it, and also the direction we are taking the economy.
Okay. So what are the prospects for Nigeria's energy sector?
The prospect is large. When you look at Nigeria, Nigeria as a nation is known in petrochemicals industry, and it is also known in crude oil sales. But what matters more in the economy is for the economy to look at what are the advantages of these industries and what are the capacity of these industries, then to balance the commitment against the resources that we are getting out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's look at U.S. shale production. It's also expected to keep rising. Is there any likely effect on oil production for Nigeria?
United States, these are smart people, and they are using technology to get rid of OPEC. Okay. Shale production centrally, if you look at the trend about 5 years ago, it was less than 9 million production per day. 9 million barrels per day. Yes. But presently, it has been targeted that the United States is able to produce above 10 million barrels per day, which is very significant. And even look at the cost of producing that same shale petroleum and in line with what OPEC is also producing, a single barrel within the same market.
Okay. So do you think that the agreement to cut production as agreed by OPEC and other economies, do you think this is going to end soon?
No, it will not end soon. There is a lot of politics. There is a Russian politics in the same market. There is also politics between member states. Member states in their production capacity. Nigeria has an advantage because we have the Secretary General of the OPEC there, and that is why Nigeria is gaining it better, because whatever the OPEC is deciding about the output or the production per day is going to be beneficial to Nigeria, and at the same time beneficial to the market in general. But the Americans, the Russians, the Chinese, and also the major consumers, which are Asians, have a role to play in what the market will look like in the next 2-3 years.
Okay, so let's look at the next few months. Nigeria is a top exporter of oil, and then also a top importer of the byproduct. What do you think is likely to happen?
That's why we are talking of capacity. We have to look inward. What are the benefits we are driving from the OPEC market? And what are we going to translate that benefit into the economy? We can translate this into the economy by having the refining capacity. Not only Dangote is to give us what the economy is going to have in the next 2-3 months, for instance. We are looking at a situation where the Nigerian government or the Nigerian economy will have more benefit in exporting the same product, because in the next maybe 3 years, by 2020, there is going to be change in demand and supply of petrol in the world market because of the American intervention with the shale production. So therefore, it is more significant for Nigeria to look at our refining capacity, to balance our resources that we are getting out of the market and balance it with more commitment, so that in the future we will have what is called the long run effect to our economy.
Okay. So is the oil market, do you think the oil market is likely to have any impact or effect on other commodities?
Market is naturally a multiplier.
Okay.
This product is a multiplier in whatever you are taking in the market. You know, consumer is faced with a lot of challenges. The first challenge that is faced with consumer is his income. But the main challenge of this product is the price at which it is offered in the market. If it is higher, it means you are going to pay high in any commodity you are consuming, whether it is produced locally or not, because transportation cost must be attached to any good or services you are getting within the same economy. The market trend will continue, but government has to look at other economic issues to assist income to grow. When income is not growing, no matter what, if the price continue to increase for the benefit of the state, it will also go at the detriment of the consumer within the same state.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much
for sparing your time and spending it with us on Business Express.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Okay. Statistics show that Nigeria is the largest producer of peanuts, also known as groundnuts, in sub-Saharan Africa and third in the world. Major producing states include Kano, Kaduna, Taraba, Bauchi, Borno, and Adamawa. Let's see the numbers for commodities in the local markets. The Nigerian equities market seems to have lost the steam it started the year with. It is 7 straight days of losses occasioned by profit-taking. Let's join Amina Nojem for highlights of how this week fared.
The Nigerian Stock Exchange closed Monday, the 12th of February 2018 in negative territory as market capitalization shed 130 billion naira to close at 15.337 trillion naira against the 15.476 trillion naira on Friday. The OSHA index appreciated by 0.09% to close at 42,737.89 basis points. The summary of market activities showed that a total of 517 million shares valued at 5.1 billion naira changed hands in 5,852 deals. The 13th of February 2018, the O-share index closed at 41,708.15 basis point, shedding minus 2.41%, while market capitalization stood at 14.967 trillion naira. 470 million equities exchange hands in 6,309 deals valued at 3.682 billion naira. Financial institutions Diamond Bank, FCMB and Fidelity Bank were the most attractive equities for investors during the session. AG Leventis, Berger and Etana led the gainers, while Prestige led the losers table.
I'm now being joined by Sidi Idris. He is of New Devco Investment and Securities Limited. Mr. Sidi, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me today.
It's been 7 straight days of losses. However, as of trading this morning, figures were showing positive. What do you say of the market?
Well, like you said, it's actually been 7 days straight losses from last week till today. Okay. That has been upturned by the close of business today. Okay. We have seen positive numbers coming out. Yeah. from all the indices except for the oil and gas sector. It's just normal trends that happen in the market when investors have made some profit and then prices are going down. They want to cash in on the profits they've made so that to stop, to reduce the losses they are likely to incur. Yeah.
So the National Bureau of Statistics released inflation figures today.
Yeah.
And they show that inflation is positive.
Yeah.
Do you think this has any relationship with the market?
Yeah, it does have a very strong relationship with the market.
Okay.
You know, the inflation rate, as long as the inflation rate keeps coming down, it creates an opportunity for the equities market, because this will drive down the yields in the fixed income market, and then investors will be looking up to the equities market for more or better returns from their investments, you know.
Okay.
So that's it.
Okay, you mentioned one or two sectors doing, some are positive, some are negative.
Yeah, it's actually only one sector that has been that was negative today.
Okay.
Everything went positive.
Okay.
The banking sector was the best performer today.
Okay.
You know, it went up about 2.73, even though during the 7 days straight losses, it was one of the worst hit as well. But it has returned, and then we expect that the trend will continue through the end of the week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think there's any relationship with the global market?
Yeah, of course. You know, we are in a global village now. What happens in developed economies elsewhere will certainly have a ripple effect on other economies. Like the Feds of the US, you know, they are proposing to hike interest rates. So this will give investors in that market an opportunity to make more returns from fixed income, which is risk-free or less risky than equities market. So we might see a situation where investors, foreign investors, are trying to move out their money from equities market and go into the fixed income markets in the US.
Okay.
So that is it.
Okay. So what do you see playing out in the market this week?
Yeah, I expect, I'm confident that the market is going to continue on this upward trajectory throughout the week, and then coming week too, because we're in earnings seasons, results are being expected, and then from third quarter results we have positive numbers already, and we're expecting really that the companies will do well, you know, with the full year results, especially the companies that are expecting to be paying dividends. The yields are likely to be higher this time around, considering that the environment is favorable.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sidi, for joining us on the program.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
That's the
being
much
there.
we can talk about.
It's all right.
All right. Nigerian stocks slide for more than a week. Global stocks seem to have shrugged concerns off, although the fear gauge on Wall Street is still high. Let's have the numbers as presented by Musa Abubakar.
Africa equities closed mostly positive. South Africa JSE top 40 gained 1.74% at 50,405.03. Nairobi SE declined 0.4%. Tundex climbed 0.39%. Namibia overall index gained 1.62%, and Ghana GSE made 1.14% gain. Stock posted a 3-day winning streak on Tuesday as major bourses recovers. Dow Jones Industrial Average closed 39.25 points higher at 24,640.45. S&P rose 0.30% to close 2,662.94, and Nasdaq Composite climbed 0.5%. Europe stocks closed red amidst corporate earnings. The French CAC slipped 0.6%, German's DAX fell 0.7%, and UK's FTSE declined 0.13%. Asian shares rise following Wall Street advance. Japan's Nikkei reversed early gains to close down 0.65%. Hang Seng Index rose 1.29%, and Shanghai Composite climbed 1.0%.
Now a quick look at global commodity figures. we now look at how the international currencies around the world are performing this Wednesday. This is where we drop the anchor on this edition of Business Express. Friday is another day. Keep a date with us, same time, same station. Until then, keep talking business. I am Moplang Dakok.